Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this EPFO course of Scholar IS. My name is Gaurav Tiwari and I'll take you through the polity syllabus for your EPFO examination. So let's start our first lecture. I've gone through the syllabus of this EPFO polity and I've also gone through these questions that were asked in the previous year examinations. So one thing that I can surely tell you is the question paper will not be subjective or analytical, it will be factual. So all you need to do is go through the facts mentioned in the polity, that is the constitution. So first, what we are going to do is we will go through all these provisions, articles, and the schedules that are mentioned in the constitution. Apart from that, we'll first study how the constitution was made. This will be the subject matter of our today's class. See, there are so many things that contributed to the development of constitution in India. Prior to 1947, India was under the British rule, and prior to 1858, India was under the rule of East India Company. So all of them, they contributed to the development of Indian political structure. So first we'll read about the development of that Indian political structure, and then we'll read about the Constituent Assembly who's credited with the development of Indian Constitution. So let's start our today's lecture. Now, the oldest constitution in the world is that of United States. There was a convention which took place at Philadelphia. It is known as Philadelphia Convention. It is credited with the writing of U.S. Constitution. And James Madison, he is known as the father of Constitution. So, what exactly is Constitution? Constitution comprises of basic laws and rules of a country. Sometimes they are codified and sometimes they are not. Now, we'll read about the evolution of Indian political system. There were so many important acts that were brought out by the company as well as the Britishers in order to regulate the affairs in India. They were the Regulating Act of 1773, Pitt's India Act of 1784. Then there was a series of Charter Acts, Government of India Acts, and the Indian Council Acts. All of these contributed to the development of legislature in India. So we'll read about them one by one. First is the Regulating Act of 1773. The Regulating Act of 1773, as the name suggests, it was passed in the year 1773. It was the first attempt by the British Parliament to regulate the affairs of company in India. See, what happened is prior to the year 1858, India was not ruled by the British Crown or the British Parliament. It was ruled by the East India Company, which was a private entity. So what happened is by enacting Regulating Act of 1773, Britishers regulated the affairs of company who was ruling in India. This was the first attempt towards the centralized administration. How? In this act, the governor of Bengal was made Governor General of Bengal and for all the British territories in India. And what happened is Bombay and Madras presidency, they were subordinated to Bengal presidencies in certain matter. So जब ये subordinate हो गई तो ये अपने आप Governor General of Bengal, he himself became the centralized administration. So this is how it was done. And who was the first Governor General of Bengal? It was Lord Warren Hastings. Now Bombay and Madras presidencies were subordinated, and apart from that, Supreme Court was established by this Regulating Act of 1773. So I hope you'll remember these facts. Let's move forward and talk about the Pitt's India Act. Now the Pitt's India Act distinguished between the commercial and political functions of the company. The Pitt's India Act of 1784, you need to remember the year as well. It was passed in 1784. It is also known as the East India Company Act of 1784. It gave British government supreme control over the company's affairs and its administration. Apart from that, what happened is by this act, the British government established a dual system of government. There was a government by board of control and there was a government of court of directors. Now this board of control, it regulated political and revenue affairs of the company, that is East India Company, while the court of directors regulated the commercial affairs of the company. I hope this is clear. Now the presidencies of Bombay and Madras, they were subordinated to the Governor General and a Council of Bengal in all matters of diplomacy. अब तक उनने इन सम मैटर्स में कुछ कुछ मैटर्स में सबऑर्डिनेट बनाया था, बट नाउ they were made subordinate to the Governor General and the Council of Bengal in all matters of diplomacy. So I hope this part is clear. Let's move forward and talk about the Charter Act. See, one Charter Act is missing, that is of 1793. इसको मिस क्यों किया है? क्योंकि इसमें कुछ बहुत ज्यादा खास ऐसा एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव डेवलपमेंट के लिए कोई प्रोविजन नहीं था, बट देयर वर प्रोविजंस इन दी Charter Act of 1813. This Act of 1813, that is Charter Act, is also known as the East India Company Act of 1813. By this act, the East India Company, which up till now had the monopoly over trade with India, was deprived of its monopoly with trade except with trade in tea and trade with China. So क्या हुआ, इनके पास अभी तक monopoly थी, they had the monopoly of trading with India, but this act abolished that monopoly, but still trade in tea and trade with China, they were still kept with the East India Company. They were the sole company to trade in all these matters. Apart from that, one important development that took place under this act is a sum of 1 lakh rupees per annum was allocated to education sector, and this amount was to be paid by the company themselves. I hope you'll remember these two facts. Now let's move forward. The next Charter Act was of Charter Act of 1833. See, this Charter Act renewed the company's rule for 20 years. हर 20 साल में Charter Act निकले. Like there was Charter Act of 1793, then there was Charter Act of 1813, then we have Charter Act of 1833, and we have a Charter Act of 1853. So let's start. The Charter Act of 1833, it brought an end to East India Company's trade monopoly, even in tea and trade with China. Remember, tea and trade with China was still the monopoly of the East India Company. This Charter Act of 1833, it abolished that monopoly also. The act centralized the administration of India further. So this act further centralized the administration of India. The governor of Bengal, that is the who was Warren Hastings, first governor of Bengal. This terminology or this designation of governor of Bengal became the Governor General of India, and the first Governor General was Lord William Bentinck. So what happened is these presidencies of Madras and Bombay, they were made subordinate to the Governor General of Bengal. What happened now is they were deprived of their legislative powers. अब ये कोई laws नहीं बना सकते थे, इनके लिए laws एक Governor General of India बनाएंगे. A fourth member, that is a law member, was added to the Council of Governor General. See, at that time, Governor General used to legislate with the help of a council. Earlier, it comprised of 3 members. Now there was a fourth member to this council, and it was a law member. I hope you'll remember these facts. Now the next is the Charter Act of 1853. The Charter Act of 1853 extended the life of East India Company for an unspecified period. The earlier Charter Acts, they extended the life of East India Company for around 20 years, but the life of East India Company was extended up to unspecified period. Now they can be recalled by the British Crown anytime. The company's rule can be recalled by the British Crown anytime now. The law member was made a full member of the Executive Council of Governor General. Apart from that, recruitment to civil services was based on annual competitive examination, and it excluded Indians. It was in the year 1853. So I hope story up till here is clear to all of you. Now what happened is there was a revolt in the year 1857, also known as Revolt of 1857, the first war of independence as some historians call it. What happened after this revolt is the Indian administration was transferred from East India Company to the British Crown, and it was through the Government of India Act of 1858. It ended company's rule in India, and now the India was directly ruled by the British Crown. I hope this part is clear. Now, in this act, the Court of Directors and the Board of Control, these two distinctions were abolished. It was established by the Pitt India Act, if you remember, we talked about. So, thus, the double government introduced by the Pitt India Act of 1784 was finally ended. And there was this legislation, the doctrine of lapse, was also withdrawn under this act. See, there was one Governor General who brought out this act known as doctrine of lapse. इसमें क्या होता था? The adopted son was not permitted to inherit the throne of their father. That is, अगर कोई adopted son है तो वो राजा नहीं बन सकता था, and ultimately the state will lapse and fall under the jurisdiction of Britishers. That is, it will be assimilated into the British India and it will not be an independent princely state. This was the doctrine of lapse. इसको भी withdraw कर लिया था. The post of Secretary of State for India was created. This Secretary of State was a member of British Cabinet and a direct representative of the Parliament. I hope this part is clear now. Governor General was to be called Viceroy. Terminology was also changed. Governor General of India was to be called now Viceroy, and the direct representative, and he was one of the direct representative of Crown in India. While the Secretary of State was the representative of British Cabinet, and that in the Parliament of Britain. But ये जो Governor General है, he was the representative of Britishers here in India. A unitary and highly centralized administrative structure was created. How it was an highly centralized? Because this Governor General was now the Viceroy and he was direct representative of British Crown in India और सारे laws यही बनाते थे centrally. So I hope this part is clear to all of you. So the next act is the Indian Council Act 1861. Now this act is credited with the foundation of Indian legislature, and this foundation of this Indian legislature was laid in the year 1861, and the policy of association of Indians in the legislation started. Up till now, all the legislations were made by Governor General and his Executive Council without any consultation with the Indians. But now they started associating Indians in the legislative actions as well. The legislative power of the presidency government deprived in the 1833 were restored. We discussed that the legislative power of Bombay Presidency and Madras Presidency, they were taken away by this Charter Act of 1833, and this is how the administrative system was made highly centralized. But the legislative power of the provinces was restored by this Indian Council Act 1861. Under this act, the civil services became Indian civil services, and a portfolio system in the government of India was introduced. What is this portfolio system? Portfolio system is allocating or allotting a particular portfolio to a particular minister or a person. Like today we have a home minister, a defense minister. So these are what? These are portfolios, and person who hold these portfolios, they are having the cabinet rank. Viceroy could also issue ordinance in case of emergency. Very, very important fact. Just remember this, that the ordinance provision that Viceroy could issue ordinance in case of emergency, it was brought by Indian Council Act of 1861. Now let's move forward. The Indian Council Act of 1892. It started a system of representatives in administrative system. सब जगह से अब representatives आ रहे थे. The council to have a power to discuss the budget and of addressing question to the executive. See, there was a Governor General Executive Council and there was a Governor General's Legislative Council. And this Legislative Council, आपके पास अब थोड़े बहुत Indian members भी थे. So what happened is they were given the power to discuss the budget and also addressing question to the executive, but they were not allowed to ask supplementary questions. I hope this part is clear. The next is the Indian Council Act of 1919. This act is also known as Morley-Minto Reform. Morley at that time was the Secretary of State, while Minto was the Viceroy. So it introduced for the first time the election to the State Legislative Council. So the State Legislative थी उसके लिए थोड़े बहुत elections होने लगे, and there was also one provision known as separate electorate which was introduced by this act, and it was for Muslims. What is this provision of separate electorate? That is for a Muslim candidate or which is standing in the Muslim majority area, only Muslim will be allowed to hold or cast their vote and not anyone else. So this was the provision. It was introduced by this Indian Council Act of 1909. Let's move forward and talk about the Government of India Act. It is also known as Montagu-Chelmsford Reform. Same. He was the Secretary of State and this Chelmsford was Viceroy in India. Now first subject is the devolution rule. What is this? The subject of administrations were divided into two categories. So जिन subjects पे administer करना होता था, all of them were divided into two categories, that is the central and provincial. All important subjects like railway and finance, they are brought under the category of central. That is, only central government can make laws on the subjects of railways and finances, while matter relating to the administration of provinces were classified as provincial. So it is the vertical distribution of power between the center and the state. And it was done through Government of India Act 1919. Now, one another system was introduced, that is the system of diarchy. It is also known as the rule by two. Indian legislature became bicameral for the first time. Now, the provincial subjects, remember they were given the power to administer all the subjects that are related to the provinces. So, all these provincial subjects, they were further divided into two categories. Now, this is the horizontal distribution. See, center and provincial is the vertical distribution, and in the provinces, we have transferred and reserved subjects. So, these are the two categories. What are these? Transfer subjects were to be administered by the governor with the aid of ministers responsible to the legislative council. What are they trying to say here? Governor will make laws on the transferred subject with the help of a legislative council. जो स्टेट असेंबली होगी, while reserve subjects were to be administered by the governor through his executive council, which was not an elected body. This legislative council was partly elected, partly nominated, but this executive council, it was totally non-elected people. It comprised of all the people who were not subjected to elections. So this was the reserve subjects. What were the subjects that were kept under this reserve list? It was the railway, post, telegraph, finance, law and order, etc. So I hope this part is clear to all of you. So vertical division was between central list and provincial list, and horizontal division within the state was reserved subject and transferred subject. Reserved subject गवर्नर जनरल जिस पे लॉज बनाता है अपने एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल के साथ. ट्रांसफर्ड सब्जेक्ट were the subjects on which governor general, which were administered by the governor general with the help of his minister, that were responsible to legislative council. Now let's discuss one of the most important act, that is Government of India Act 1935. As the name suggests, this act was passed in the year 1935. Let's discuss the salient feature of this act. The most important feature of this act was that it introduced diarchy at the central level in the government. In Government of India Act 1919, diarchy was introduced in the provinces, but by Government of India Act 1935, diarchy was introduced in the central level as well. The act gave a measure to form a federal form of government and an all India federation. That is, there should be a center and there should be a state. So this is what a federal form of government is. The act involved making of a federal form of government in India, which is still prevalent in our Indian constitution. So we have this feature in our Indian constitution which divides the subject matter on which the state government and the central government can make laws. So this is what a federal form of government is. That is clear distinction between the subjects on which the center and the state government can make laws. So it is under Article 246 of the Constitution, which gives us three lists. What are these lists? These are the union list, the state list and the concurrent list. But in the pre-independence era, these lists were known as federal list, provincial list and concurrent list. And the residuary powers were at that time left with the viceroy. There was also separation of state, which led to the creation of two new states. They were Sindh and Odisha. The act extended the franchise. What franchise are they talking about? They're talking about universal adult franchise, that is right to vote. They gave 10% of the voting right to the public, which was a great extension of right to the people. I hope this part is clear to all of you. The act provided for establishment of federal court, which was done in the year 1937. That is, the Supreme Court of India was established. See, by that regulating act of 1773, a Supreme Court was established in Bengal. But through this Government of India Act of 1935, we established the Supreme Court of India. Now, to control the credit flow in the economy, this act established Reserve Bank of India to control the currency in the country. So I hope this part are clear to all of you. All the provisions, just go through them 2 to 3 times and learn them. Now let's take up a couple of questions. The idea of Constituent Assembly for India was proposed by, so I guess you guys have not studied this. So it was M.N. Roy. He is also known as father of communism in India. He is credited with this idea of establishment of Indian Constituent Assembly. Now, which of the following charter acts had the provision of ending monopoly of East India Company? So let's start the discussion. It was the Charter Act of 1833. The 1813 partly ended the monopoly of the East India Company, but by our Charter Act of 1833, the monopoly of the East India Company was completely ended. So I hope this part is clear to all of you. Now that's all from my side. This making of the constitution पूरा नहीं हुआ है, ये थोड़ा सा बचा है. We'll pick up from here in the next lecture.